So today we're going to talk about the grey area, which 99% of bushcraft videos don't ever show, don't teach.
We are born with an inheritance, a deep cellular memory of the wild. Our modern lives often mute this ancient connection, yet the soul still craves the language of the earth, the texture of bark, the smell of rain, the warmth of a fire struck from stone. BT Adventures is not just about survival, it is about reconnection. It's a journey back to the fundamentals, where resourcefulness is the ultimate luxury, and knowing how to live off the land is the highest form of self-mastery. We strip away layers of convenience to find what is truly essential, proving that the most profound skill is the ability to adapt, thrive, and make a home wherever the compass might point us. This is the philosophy of bushcraft, to move from simply enduring the wilderness to deeply belonging with it.
Welcome everybody, welcome back. And today, as promised, we're doing a skills video. So on today's skill video, we're going to talk about something 99% of most bushcraft survival channels don't ever talk about, don't ever teach, and something always edited out in most videos. And when you do see it, 99% of the time it's completely wrong and dangerous. So what we're going to talk about today is the fundamental of wilderness survival. It is the fundamental skill of bushcraft, yet nobody talks about it. When done incorrectly, it is one of the leading causes that can jeopardize your safety out in the wilderness. So why does nobody teach it? Most people edit out this process because they haven't been trained and they don't want to show it done incorrectly. So stay tuned if you want to find out what this skill is, how to do it safely, and another step in your toolkit to mastering the outdoors. We're going to let that boil. And now I'm going to teach you guys the correct way how to fell a tree. This is advice that's going to help anybody who spends time in the outdoors. Doesn't matter if you're a backpacker, if you're a hiker, if you do overnight camping, if you're interested in bushcraft and wilderness survival. It doesn't matter if you're a Boy Scout or a Girl Scout. It doesn't matter if you're a hunter. If you don't know how to read the trees, you can have serious injuries. And the last thing anybody needs out in the outdoors is to get injured, especially in a survival situation. So step one, identify the tree. Once you have found a dead tree, before touching it, search around the base of a tree. You always need a clear escape. Whether this tree decides to barbecue, a widowmaker falls, if you have to turn around and run, it is vital that there are no tripping hazards or anything you're going to back up into not knowing it was there. Spent over 5 years in the logging industry as an arborist, a tree surgeon. So take my advice, what I teach you guys today. So this little tree here is dead. I can see all the way up it. I know it's an evergreen tree, so for it not to have needles at this time means it's a dead tree. Step two, after cleaning around the tree, we're going to evaluate the tree, see which direction the tree naturally wants to fall with gravity assistance. So for this tree, it is easily determined what limbs it does have. Is all facing this way. Because this tree is about the size of my forearm at the bottom, I don't have to worry about putting an undercut. So what I'm going to teach you guys is called a snap cut. Because we're not building a log cabin, because in a survival situation, carrying something that big, falling something that big comes with more issues and more problems, especially if you have a handsaw. You don't want to subject yourself to that much work to burn that many calories. It's not needed. So whether it's bushcraft, whether it's wilderness survival, whether you have an incident outside and you need to make something, you only want to be cutting wood, ideally 4 inches and under diameter, 3.5. Structurally, it's going to be enough that you need, as well as not so much of a physical burden that you're struggling carrying with it. Because when you build something, it requires a lot of lumber. So step one, we identified the tree, we searched around it, we cleaned our hazards. Whilst we were looking at the tree, finding which direction gravity wants to take it, the next most important step with any dead tree is to assume that the top is dead, rotted out. It's called, when it's a widowmaker, it's when you can fall the tree and the top of that tree can snap out of it and fall backwards onto you. Okay, so this is my dead tree. To save your saw blades, any moss, as it grows it picks up dirt, clean off the tree. Your saw blades will thank you. So, as I was saying, the snap cut is one of the simplest, most effective, and a safe way to cut a tree. So when felling a tree, there's 2 things you always have to consider with every tree. And that takes into account the lean of the tree, and that is compression and tension. The way the side of a tree is leaning, where you are making your cut, is under compression. Those tree fibers are being compressed with the weight of the tree above compressing on that side. The back side, those fibers are under tension, which means they are being stretched. So that is important when we make our cuts. We are factoring into compression and tension, and now we'll talk about that a bit more about that later. So our first cut for the snap cut, we are going to cut halfway through the tree. So when we're making these cuts, we are lining up our saw blade face, our saw teeth, with the direction the tree is going to fall. If the tree wants to fall this way, I am not making my cut on any other angle besides where that tree wants to fall naturally. Next part of the snap cut, I finished my front cut here. My back cut is going to start 1.5 inches above my back cut. The end of my front cut is aligned with the end of my back cut, and in the middle is our holding wood. The moment we cut through this holding wood is when the tree is unsupported. Right now it is sat with its weight still on both cuts. So with a snap cut, I am cutting through until I break that holding wood. Just like that. It's very important when cutting down any tree of any size is one, that you listen to it, and two, especially when it is a dead tree, constantly, and I'll show you in my next clip, constantly keep your eyes up that tree. Because if you are always looking down on the ground and that tree starts to fall, if it is a widowmaker and the top snaps out of that tree, it is going to come down and it will land on you. So it is vital when making your back cut, be looking more up the tree than you are down at the tree. Just pay attention to where your cuts end. And when it's ready to go, this is my escape route. Safe as that. When using an axe or a hatchet, swing and de-limb on the opposite side of the tree in which you are standing on. So now we have a dead tree down, which we could use for a shelter, we could use for firewood, whatever the needs be. I'm not advocating people just start cutting down trees. These are dead trees I use. It is forest management, if anything. I don't ever use any living tree. However, if this was a real survival situation, whether I was a hunter out, I got injured in the bush, or a backpacker, I twisted my ankle, if I had to use something to build a shelter, which meant I got through the night safely, I would not hesitate to use whatever was around me and what means necessary in order to survive the night. So now that we have our tree delimbed, the same rules apply when bucking up the wood. So for educational purposes, the weight of the tree will be pushing down. I have compression on the top, I have tension on the bottom, which means I'm going to start with a slight cut on top. I'm not going all the way through, just like a 1/4 inch, because if I keep going, what will happen is the tree will sink down, the compression will bite into that saw blade. If this was a bigger tree and I couldn't lift it and that bit down on my saw, you might have just lost your saw. Also, it wears out the blades, puts more stress on your tools, so it is important to buck it the right way. So, I first relieve the compression, I then come underneath my cut, I line up, and I cut through the tension. This top cut relieves the compression, it allows it to bite into it to close, allowing me to cleanly and effortlessly saw through that tree. So this applies to when either end is being held up in the air. It is the same principle as if you fell a big tree and it gets hung up in another tree, you are unable to move it. You have to think, where is the tension, where is the compression, and how do I cut through that? So same thing, compression on the top, tension on the bottom. Compressing the top fibers, stretching the bottom fibers. I make my relief cut, and then I cut in from the bottom. Just like that. Because how many times have you seen videos of people just hacking through a tree one direction only, and then their saw gets pinched, their handsaw, their chainsaw get pinched, it turns into a disaster very quickly. So as you guys can see, this big leaning cedar behind me is the perfect example. The top side is under tension, the fibers are being stretched out from the weight of the top of the tree, going way out. The underside is under compression, same reason. The weight of the tree is compressing those fibers. That will be much tougher wood to cut on the underside than it would be on the top. With something like this too, if you just decided to cut through the top, that tree would for sure barber chair, which means before you would even finish cutting through, that tree would explode in half and have a tremendous weight force kicking up. A vital thing to avoid when harvesting wood for any reason. In which leads us to our next victim. And now I will teach you guys about the undercut. It doesn't matter about the size of the tree, the same rules apply. So, step 1, clear the surroundings of the tree. Know your escape route. Step 2, identify if it's a widowmaker, is the top dead, and which way does the tree want to fall. So this tree wants to fall straight this way. So we have assessed in which direction the tree wants to go. We have identified there are no hangers, no widowmakers up above. In case when the tree goes, they can fall down, as well as the top doesn't look completely dead in this one either. So this tree is about 25 feet tall, so it's a manageable one. Like I said, I don't need to harvest anything bigger. So this is how we do an undercut. Same thing, we align our saw blades with the direction the tree wants to fall. We are only going to cut about a quarter of the way into the tree. Then we go up about an inch, inch and a half, and we start our undercut on a 45-degree angle down to line up with our first cut. One of the most important things about making an undercut is you want it clean. You don't want any little chunks in here that can hold this tree up and send it in a different direction. I am not overcut on this side, and there's no overcutting on this side. That is a clean undercut. And now we start our back cut. Same thing, we want to be an inch and a half above our undercut. Now this is the important part, is you do not want to just hack all the way through. So from where my undercut stopped to my back cut, this is my holding wood. The holding wood from here to here is what's keeping this tree still standing. So the moment I cut through these vertical fibers, this tree will fall. And also when you're cutting your back cut, you can often feel when this tree is about to go. And at that point, you remove your saw and back up and let gravity do the rest. So as you guys saw, this little tree did get hung up in these little trees as well. And that is why it is important we only take what we can manage. We don't just go cut the biggest stuff, the easiest things in sight. Safety comes from control. So let's talk about gear, because it plays a very vital part with this topic of tree felling. And I've tested a lot of gear, and I'm going to tell you guys the truth. So first off, let's break the ice once and for all. Everybody's seen me silky saws on every channel. This is the Silky Gumboy. By no means is it a bad saw. It cuts really great. Let's talk about the downfall nobody talks about on any channel. These saws are for weekend warriors, for people who come out your odd camping trip. If you're considering putting together a long-term bag, if you know what I mean, these saws are useless. It is a very thin blade, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches thickness. As well, it is meant to have flexibility. However, these saws are prone to snapping. The novelty and why people carry these, because they are compact, they are small, and this is their selling feature. You can carry it in your Ravens. It sits in your pocket, and that's the novelty about Silkies. As you guys see, my main saw is also a Silky. This is the arborist version. I forgot its name's given by Silky, however, it's one of their arborist saws. It is a much stronger, full tang blade, way more robust of a handle. Silkies are pull saws, so when you pull through the wood, they cut. They don't cut when you push them. So you are technically doing 2 reps for 1 cut. In a long-term survival situation, expanding that much more extra energy doesn't make much sense when you're going to be processing a lot of wood. Great weekend saw, great practice saw, not a saw for a long-term scenario. So that brings us to the question, what is and what would I recommend? One of these guys. You can get these at any hardware store. Everyone's grandpa had them. Wooden handle, metal bolts, rivets. This blade will not snap. It is bendable. This cuts when you push it. It cuts when you pull it. This is a saw that is going to outwork, outlive you, a saw you could depend on. This is a Husqvarna hatchet. I have used this thing for over 7 years. It maintains an edge. It chops like hell. I wrap my handle in hockey tape. It is very durable. It is rugged. It offers excellent grip. Because trying to swing a wet wooden handle, especially using a hatchet, you become very prone to injuries and accidents, especially using a shorter based hatchet compared to a longer axe. So I'd highly recommend anyone with a hatchet, wrap your handles, find hockey tape. Alrighty everybody, so I hope you guys managed to learn something and take something away from that. That was a brief description on how to fell trees properly and safely. However, with that little bit of knowledge, that will eliminate any possible chance of risk, any chance of danger. That alone could help someone in a life-threatening situation. And like I said, not too many bushcraft wilderness survival videos here on YouTube will actually teach you and show you that process on how to do it properly and safely, the dangers and the hazards to look out for. So I hope you guys enjoy that video. Stay tuned. I'm going to be dropping a camping video next, coming up soon, whether I camp here or I might take out the hot tent. However, if you guys enjoyed that video, hit the like button, leave a comment, share your thoughts. Until the next one, this is BT Adventures signing out. Stay free, stay wild, stay out in the outdoors.